Hey lovelies, it's Nissa, the Hypnobirthing midwife. I would love to talk to you for a few minutes about having a really positive postnatal period. It's what I've kind of realised, not just recently, for a while now, I've kind of been thinking about this, is that mums and dads get pretty well prepared for birth, read the books, maybe do a course, sometimes 2 or 3, and get really into preparing for a positive experience of birth, and then have that gorgeous birth, and then go, oh, what now? We have this tiny person that we have to keep alive. Hadn't really thought about that much. And then either they're having a home birth, so they're home, or they've gone home after being in hospital for a day or so, and that can be quite a big deal, and you can really feel overwhelmed, a bit lost, and I think that this is a real thing. I think often mums and dads, they can't see, particularly mums, past the birth. It's like, the birth is there and then there's nothing on the other side, and I think that's in the West, that's a really common thing. The thing is, guys, the birth is probably just a day or 2 days, and then you've got weeks and months and years of parenthood. And I think that the first few weeks of parenthood, the way that you experience that can have a really profound effect on your whole journey, actually, and your relationship with your baby. And there's so much that you can do to be more prepared to have a really positive experience. And I think a lot of that is around mindset. So going from being footloose, well, maybe not footloose, but footloose, free person that doesn't have children, you're probably working, you might have quite a busy career, you might have a job that you love, you might be working really hard, quite long hours. Going from that experience to then being a parent, and if you're mum, then that means you're hanging out with your little person, all day, every day, probably at home or more close to home. That is a really big shift, and I think that so many mums struggle with that, and I know that personally I really did myself. So looking back now, nearly 9 years on, I can see that I found it so hard to go from being pretty free, very independent, to really having to be changing my daily patterns and routines to be aligned to my baby and what my baby needed. And I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't really expect that at all. I really struggled with being with my little person all day because she couldn't speak, and I love people, I love interaction. And I'm pretty sure, looking back, that I had some level, some degree of kind of postnatal depression. I'm sure, because when I went back to work, she was about 10 months old. I went back to work. It's like I woke up and I was like, oh, this is the old me. Okay. And I really believe that there's many things that I could have done to have enjoyed that experience a lot more, been a lot more relaxed, being a lot more kind and loving and generous to myself as well in that experience, not being so harsh, and I felt like I should be doing certain things. I should be doing this, that, or the other. So what are the things that you can do to really change that experience? There's many things. So first of all, I would really love to recommend this book. This is The First 40 Days, The Essential Art of Nourishing the New Mother by Heng U. It's an amazing book. I'm obsessed with this book. Heng really understands about the transition that you go through, and that there can be a grieving process for the old you, but then you emerge into this amazing, different person who is stronger. But it's a process, and you need to be gentle, and you need to perhaps slow down a bit in order to manage that and enjoy it as well. So this is a book that I give to all of the clients that come to my Positive Postnatal classes. So I run a class every month where I invite parents-to-be to come along in the pregnancy, and we spend time together talking about and figuring out all the things that they can do in the pregnancy to prepare so that they can really enjoy those first few days, weeks, the first day, the first 7 days, the first 40 days, and it can completely shift the experience that you have. And of course it's practical stuff, so we cover all the practical things like, feeding your baby and what to expect, how often your baby's going to feed, and bathing your baby and signs of a well baby. But we go so much deeper. And I think that the Heng does as well in this book. So we think about not just that surface level of the practical, do this, do that stuff, but we go into, how to allow your baby to find its own way, and how to enjoy that, and how to not always be looking for the answer outside of you in a book or the expert or the website, but actually how can you trust yourself? Because I recently read something in The Guardian that there's a study done that shows there's a direct correlation between happiness of parents. So parents that are happier have read less parenting books. So it's an inverse correlation. Parents that are less happy have read more and more and more and more expert books, And who is the expert? It's you. It's you. But I think in our culture we are not encouraged to trust ourselves, to believe in ourselves, and to find our own way. So we spend some time talking about that on the course, and I think that's so very, very important. We think about the changing in the roles, because you may be in a relationship, you might be single, but if you have a partner, you may have had more equal roles. You may both work, you may both cook, you may both do home domestic things, and often when you have a baby that really changes, and that can be a real struggle, and it can be contentious and cause conflict and unhappiness. And you can definitely manage the expectations. Think about it in the pregnancy and in the early few days, so that people are happier. They know what's expected of them. You've had the conversation, so that you don't get to this place where you feel resentful. And that can happen. I think that's really common, definitely. And acknowledging that being a full-time parent, whether it's mum or dad staying home with the baby, could be either, that is a full job in itself. Without the domestic chores and the cooking, that is a complete job. And I think that that's often not acknowledged in our culture, And another thing, you know, we cover a lot of things, but something that's really, really important, I think, for mums to thrive is having your supportive community around you. And you can get that in line in the pregnancy, so that when you have your baby, your community's there. Might be your existing friends, might be new friends, might be, you know, that you're going to a drop-in or a yoga class a little bit further along the way, but that you feel that you're part of something, that you're supported. We are not supposed to stay home for 10 hours alone with just our babies. You know, we're really social creatures and we need interaction. And no, it's not surprising that people, when they're isolated, doing quite a monotonous activity, you know, changing nappies and laundry and washing, become depressed. You know, it's really understandable, but it doesn't have to be that way. You know, you can change it so that you have gentle, lovely interaction and activity, so that when you're with your baby and it's just the two of you, you can really enjoy those moments. You know, you can really just be, you know, mindful of those small, beautiful moments where your baby's making a, you know, gurgling noise, their first sounds, because, you know, they're a few weeks old and they're just starting to make sounds, and how beautiful that is, you know. And that's a conscious choice. It's so much to do with mindset, and that's a process that we can actively make steps, you know, to change and improve, so that our experience is, you know, much more enjoyable. So I talk about on the course kind of resting and restoring. Nutrition is really important, of course. Retreating so that you have your bubble, you feel safe and cozy and lovely and nourished, and also community as well, building that community, so it's sustainable. So, and you know, who are you going to call when you have a blue day? Because everyone has a blue day once in a while, and that's a normal thing. So lots and lots of things that, you know, go into that, and the practical stuff, but most importantly the mindset stuff. So how can we start to approach parenthood in a different way, in a much more gentle, thoughtful, nourishing way, and listen to ourselves and our own instincts, and not feel pressured by, you know, social things that of course are around us. I'm super excited about my new course, and can't wait to teach it starting in January this year. So I will see you there, guys.